friends. Welcome to Wednesday night. Appreciate you sticking with us as we have been studying the book of James. And it's really great to be able to stop in the middle of the week, focus on Jesus, celebrate the community, get encouraged, inspired, hopefully held accountable, and it gives us some time to go through God's word a little bit slower and in a different setting than we do on Sundays. I hope you've been tracking with us with the Abraham series. I'm excited about that. And yeah, so we're going to jump into a few things tonight. Hi, Layla. Yeah, so we got, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go right into it. Couple of lists. That's how we like to start. Have a little fun together, then jump into the Bible. So today's list is landlord fails. I'm going to go through these fairly quickly because they're all pretty horrible. Landlord painted my bedroom light yellow. That's interesting. I mean, maybe if you like that, that's great. But landlord drilled right into the bathtub. That's no good. That's going to have to be fixed. Painted over the alarm. That's no good. You will notice a theme of a lot of things painted over by landlords. Look at that. Not a great. Went back to the alarm. Not a great painting job there. Haver Bradford small group. Hello, room full. Appreciate you guys. Glad you're having fun together. Hey, did you know there's different sizes of doors? And if you don't get the right size, there's a little bit of a gap, which is no good for safety and for keeping bugs out of the place. The landlord said they'd fix the hole in the screen. That is horrific. I mean, the good news is the hole's kind of fixed. The bad news is it does not look good at all. His reason why the lights didn't work, weren't plugged in, just kind of painted to the ceiling. No good. This one I might have showed you before. They drilled into a sewage pipe while mounting the TV. That is so bad. Painted red over the shower tile. So now their shower is peeling. Not good. Landlord never gave them an ice tray. So now they have a a freezer full of ice. That's a lot of ice. Yeah, that's no good. There's a shower curtain with zip ties. Nice. I like the ingenuity. Look at that. Got some ambiance. Till they could find a lampshade. Just put a traffic cone over it. That's cool. Really? You couldn't have just moved it over a little bit? The plate? Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. This is never good. Leave the garage door open in the winter. Very bad. I like how the cat's just looking. I'm not going out there. Bucket of paint fell from the attic. Oh, man. A lot of painting woes. Hey, I'll stop your toilet from moving. I'm just going to stick some stuff over there and glue it to the wall. Nice. Who paints over the ceiling stars? What's wrong? Oh, once you find out 7 layers of shingles. I believe when you're reshingling a roof, you're supposed to take off the old shingles and then go with the new ones. Reverend Brian Spicer, hello, my friend. So, yes, not a good shingling job here. We're talking about landlord fails. You couldn't have gotten that one little last line of grass. Yeah. No one should paint over ceiling stars. That should be a crime. Back to. Apparently, somebody wanted to see this all again. Toilet for moving. Whoa, we're jumping around again. This is not good. Like that. All right. Landlord that just gave up. Oh, yeah. Speaking of giving up, you're painting all the way to the welcome mat and then just stop. There you go. Porch is painted. You're welcome. Oh, painted over a cigarette. That's not good. You sealed the mosquito in the countertop epoxy. That's fantastic. Puzzle piece. A lot of things painted over. The landlord Wow. Not sure what's happening with the all right. Things are getting painted over. There we go. Oh boy. We apologize for the shifting. Okay. It keeps wanting to go back to the it keeps wanting to go back. Maybe it's so horrible that somebody used a traffic cone as a lampshade that even the site wants to go back to it over and over again. All right, we're gonna keep going. Landlord mowed the garden. Very sad. Hey, is it okay if the replacement tile is in an exact match? Sure, thinking that it's going to be a close match, or it's just going to look like a piece of marble in the middle of the linoleum. Hey, replaced our gas fireplace with this monstrosity. I guess the good news is, oh, that's a, hey, we'll try it. Oh, look at that. Page up, page down, no mouse. Thank you, Jonathan Thatcher. All right. Landlord said he'd pressure washed my deck. Oh, that, what a thorough job of pressure washing. He might as well just signed his name in there if he was going to do that. Found where the landlord patched the carpet. Great, great patching job. That is disgusting. Hey, nothing wrong with your bathtub, landlord says. He just installed a new vent for you. Nothing behind it, but put the new vent there. Pretty sure it's supposed to be a cutout in the sheetrock, too. Concrete in the bath. Why would you make a concrete bathroom vanity? I don't know. Let's see. Oh, won't turn the water down. 179 degrees. That's very hot. Oh, painted over a penny. In the microwave, so it can't ever open fully. That's really tough. Here's one where the shower curtain needed to be hung correctly. I just anchored it to the ceiling. Nice job. Hey, painted over a sprinkler. Just everything painted. Oh, look at that. Instead of just affixing the curtains to the curtain rod, just it's like they just put a nail in the wall right there. Nice. Hey, and painted over the light. This is great. Carbon monoxide detector was right there, but the landlord just put two slits in the wall and shoved it in, so it was never plugged in or working. Hey, fix the handrail. Many nails as you can put in there. Thing's not going anywhere ever. He put a new oven in. Oh, they can't open the drawer. Another penny. You just paint over the adhesive tape or a screw. Oh, this is good. Hey, I got a new toilet seat for you. Doesn't really fit, but does kind of cover. He painted over the marble on the windowsill. That's nice. Oh, painted over that's horrific. That's painted over the electrical box. Landlord said the screws weren't holding, so they put. Actually, don't know what it's some sort of plastic ties on there. And then finally, I think this is the worst paint over. Landlord painted over a couple of wasps' nests. That is horrible. That's that's just no good. Sorry about that. So hopefully you don't have landlords like that, or hopefully you're not a landlord like that. For extra credit, Gen Xers sharing the unglamorous adult things that they now love doing. I thought this was great. I'll go through them very quickly. Going to Costco. Yeah. Think of anything more boring when you were a kid. Now it's like huge. Going to Target, common date night event. Ooh, I get to wash my car today. Super exciting. I like to go places super early, be home by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Hey, let's go see the new grocery store in the neighborhood. These are things that were boring as a kid, super exciting as an adult. Discount Stouffer's lasagna. Yeah, I'm going to drive an hour to go get some discount frozen lasagna. Yep. settled into my 40s. I was so excited about how well my steam mop cleaned the kitchen floor. All my favorite garbage bags of Glad Force Flex are great. I will say that. But I bought all 3 packages because they were bitter. They were out the last couple times. Don't want to use a different brand. Going to Home Depot, that's a very adulting thing to do. Appreciate socks, right? When you're a kid, you get socks for Christmas, you're super disappointed. Now, as an adult, you just love the feel of a good pair of socks. Yeah, how about when your gas station has fresh burritos? I feel like that's not a New England thing. We have like those Tina's burritos that you put in the microwave. I'm not even sure what's inside them, but I've seen some places down south where they have some pretty good food at gas stations. Yeah, I'm gonna pick some crab apples and make some jelly. Yeah, very adult thing to do. Getting a new shower for your house, like a hotel. It's like, oh, I never want to leave. Let's see. Oh, yes, the joy of having all your errands line up on the same side of town. And then finally staying home to do your laundry. Just the joys of being an adult. Gotta love it. All right, so we're in James chapter 3, and we've been talking about wisdom. So we've been in this passage. If you remember a couple weeks before, we talked about the tongue. So James unleashed on us and reminded us how powerful and how dangerous our tongues are, and how only God and his Spirit can control our tongues. And then he went on to talk about wisdom. So we worked our way through the first couple of verses. He said, "Who's wise and understanding among you? By his good conduct." So we said, wisdom is shown in how we live, not in what we say. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast and be false to the truth. So he's saying, listen, you might have what you think is wisdom, but if you're a jealous person, if you're selfishly ambitious, if you're living life for you, it doesn't matter what happens to anybody else, you might have wisdom, but it's the wrong kind of wisdom. So he goes on and he says, what you have is not the wisdom from God, it's the exact opposite. So this is verse 15. This is not the wisdom that comes down from above, but is earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. Earthly in this sense means the opposite of heaven. And the problem with this kind of wisdom is this. If you're all just about raising you up, like go you, go me, you've taken heaven out of the equation. You've forgotten that there's an author to the story, and there's a big story around you, and you've made this whole thing about you and your little mountain and your kingdom and your power and your glory. And at that moment, you've become a fool because you've lost a sense of the big picture. James says you're earthly, but not only are you earthly, he says you're unspiritual, that you've not just become disconnected from God and his story, but you're actually anti what God is about. And then James goes as far as to say, you know what? It's demonic. It's the exact opposite of what you have with God. Because when you have the true wisdom that only comes from God, it makes you humble. You see that I'm not really in control. God is, but he's gifted me so I can use these things that he's given me. And you move over and say, no, I got gifts. I want to use them for my power and my glory. James says you cease to be wise. You cease to follow God. And what you're doing is literally, the Greek word is demonides, which means pertaining to demons or demon-like, demonish. What you're doing is bad news, and it's opposite of where God's going. And James is talking to Christians here. He's saying, if you walk into church and you fold your arms and analyze everything, and you're like, well, I'd do that differently. I do that differently because I'm wise. Everybody else is foolish. If you're that person who's envious of leaders or ambitious for your own glory, be careful, because what you're playing with is very dangerous. It's evil. You might be thinking when you read this, how dare you, James? Evil, demonic, it seems harsh. But he gives us his reasoning in verse 16. He says, for where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice. So he says the reason you know this other kind of wisdom is demonic is because look what it produces. If you're envious, if you're selfishly ambitious, what comes out of it? He says disorder, instability. So if you go into a community of people and you want glory for you, power for you, you want everybody to be beneath you, you will introduce instability into the community. We all know this, right? Think your favorite sports team or any sports team. What happens when a wonderfully gifted athlete gets there that's all about himself or herself. You're probably even thinking of one right now. They won't pass the ball because they want to get their shots. They'll complain if they don't get the ball enough. What eventually happens to the team? They're going to lose. The team dynamic will suffer. Why? Because the foolish athlete has thrown instability and disorder into the system. They've broken down the community because of their own selfishness. What happens to a band when the lead singer starts realizing everybody's cheering for him? Starts thinking he's awesome, right? I don't need the rest of them. Band gets wrecked. Music done. You've destroyed the producing of music, destroyed the community of the band because you were all about you. And when you get selfishly ambitious and envious, what happens? You put instability into the system and you break the system apart. And James says what happens in that moment is you don't just get instability, you get every kind of vile practice. When you decide to walk into a system and you carry with you envy and ambition, what you're going to do is tear apart that community. You come in saying, I want to run things. I want to be in charge. I should be in charge because look what everything I could do. If you're somebody who comes into the system and you're all about getting to the next level or wanting to see yourself get raised up, be careful because what you're doing is not wise. It's evil and it'll produce all kinds of instability. You're off course. Not a good thing. Russ, I thought ambition was a good thing. Not this kind of ambition, because it destroys the very thing that you're trying to raise yourself up with. We see this in verse 17. The wisdom that comes from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, open to reason, full of mercy and good fruits, impartial and sincere. And a harvest of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. So what James is saying is true wisdom is humble. It's a true estimation of itself. True wisdom comes from God. You see it come down from God, that he shows you that he's above this world. He has a plan for this world. And as you move toward him, wisdom manifests itself in peace. James here is quoting Proverbs that says, by wisdom, the foundation of the earth was laid. And then Proverbs personifies wisdom as a woman and says, and all her ways are peace. That when wisdom walks into the world, she brings shalom, peace. Everybody flourishes, everybody wins. So how do you know that you're truly wise? You're taking the gifts God gave you and using them to let everybody else flourish. That's what wisdom is. James says, first of all, above all, it's pure, that there's one motivation to honor God. And as you do that, everybody flourishes. That's how you know you have real wisdom. The problem with selfish ambition is that we take the gifts that God gave us and we twist them and make them about something else. And in doing that, we destroy those gifts and we hurt other people. You say God's given you this amazing ability to make music. Why do you make music? Because you're good at it. It satisfies you. It pleases us, encourages us. But if you take that ability God gave you to make music and suddenly you make it not about encouraging us, not about rejoicing in the gift God gave you, not about honoring God by using your creativity. If you make it about your glory, your honor, you get weird with it, you twist it, you make it dark, and nobody wants that. That kind of ambition is a cancer. If God's given you a great ability athletically, maybe you're good at sports, that can encourage a community. We'll gather together and pay money to watch you play and compete. We'll rejoice in your gift of hitting a fastball or sinking a three-point shot. But if you take that gifting, you make it all about you, you get arrogant with it, you steal the joy from all of us, right? Your ambition about your glory kills the very thing we're all meant to enjoy. And suddenly it becomes not about that anymore. Maybe God's given you the gift of leadership. You should use it. You should manage people. But if God's given you the ability to govern and you take that and you make it all about yourself, and you're going to mudsling at that person or try to get this position by stealing money, being dishonest, and you just want to get there so you can drive in a limo and empower you and use us, you take God's leadership gifting he gave you and you twist it. Your ambition makes it dark. So ambition this way, this selfish ambition, not a good thing. What we need to do is this. I think we need to come and say, okay, there's a God in heaven. He created all of this and he made everything to work together. By wisdom, the foundation of the earth was laid. And when it all works together, it produces shalom, peace. Everyone flourishes. So as I enter into the system, I'm not the center of the universe. I'm just a little blip in the human story, but I'm part of the human story. And God's gifted you so you can bless the community and honor him. Some of you love numbers and how they work, and you rejoice in the symmetry of math. Some of you love to calculate the tip at a restaurant, and then you just want to give up on life because you can't do it. Some of you love taking tests. Others of you loved writing papers. Some of you love being active and running and playing sports. Others of you die inside a little bit when you have to engage in competitive physical activities. The key is to discover the gifts that God gave you and don't use them to make yourself arrogant or to fuel your own selfish ambition. It's just weird. I remember back in the day when Shaquille O'Neal, the basketball player, first came onto the scene as a star. He always seemed a bit arrogant when he talked. And sometimes I just wanted to be like, you didn't do this to yourself, bro. Like, you came out like 7 feet tall. Like, what business do you have being arrogant? He's like, yeah, I'm better than all you guys. You had no control over this. It'd be ridiculous if you weren't good at basketball. Doesn't make sense for you to be full of yourself, man. Be humble because it was a gift. And for you and I, our ability to think well or lead well or create art, if we take that and we say it's all about me, and I'll use this for me, stand on your mountain, try to push us down for your own ambition, it's evil. James says that's evil. You don't want to do that. It's demonic. It produces disorder and instability, and you hurt people, and that's not what the gift was for. But true wisdom is to be humble, to say, I didn't make any of this, but somebody did, and he made me, and he put me in this world, and he gave me gifts, and I want to use my gifts in a pure way. What does that look like? I'm going to ask God to give me wisdom. As I learn about his world and as I understand reality, he's going to give me an understanding of how to navigate in it. And as I navigate in it and move toward his people, right? God loves people, so we follow God. We love people too. The Bible tells me that all the ways of wisdom are peace. So as I begin to use my gifts, I use them in a way that bring peace. It's peaceable. It's gentle to people. It's open to reason. It listens to people. It's filled with compassion for people. This gift is meant to serve them. It's impartial. It's sincere. It's not hypocritical. I'm doing this, but I'm really about this. No, it's all sincere. It's about one thing. And what I do is begin to sow peace into the system. And what comes out as a harvest is righteousness. That's the goal. That's what we're meant to do. That's a truly wise person. So last thing, where does wisdom come from? And we've kind of touched on it. I think you know the answer. Well, God. But James chapter 1 told us, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask for it, and God will give generously. God is the giver of wisdom. It's the wisdom from above. He gives it. Earlier, we said that Proverbs personifies wisdom as a woman, right? By her, the foundations of the earth were laid. Well, in John chapter 1, as John describes Jesus, he says Jesus is the one who created all this. He's the embodiment of wisdom. And Paul said it directly. Jesus has become for us wisdom, that the wisdom that we get from God comes through the only mediator between God and man, who is Jesus Christ, who came to us. And though he was God made man, he was humble. And in his humility, he took all of his gifts, all of his perfection, and he used them to bring us peace. That's why he was the Prince of Peace. He took all his holiness and he offered it to the community. He lived the perfect life that we could not. And then all of our sin and brokenness and demonic activity he took upon himself. And as the only one who could die as a sacrifice for all of humanity, he did it. And he was buried with our sin, and he rose up again holy. So he used all of his gifts and his abilities to take away our sin, and he calls forth everyone who would trust him to be children of God through faith in him. Jesus is the perfect picture of wisdom. He was humble, he was meek, compassionate, loving. He took our sin and he blessed us. He brought shalom, he brought peace. And so now we look to the person of Jesus, the mediator between God and man, and say, show me what it means to walk in wisdom. Jesus has become to us wisdom, and I walk with him. So we're called to be compassionate, peaceable, gentle, open to reason, humble, encouraging to each other as we use our gifts and our resources so that the community flourishes. We lead in a way that people follow with joy. That's true wisdom. True wisdom is humility. That's character. True wisdom is a gift from God. That's where it comes from. True wisdom will manifest itself in shalom or peace. That's the fruit of wisdom. You got to ask yourself, are you bringing peace to the community? Are you humble? You need to be humble. You need humility. Ask God. He gives it generously to us through his son, Jesus Christ. We don't talk a lot about wisdom in the sense of how you know you have it. You check for humility and peace. Think about your relationships with your family, your friends, your coworkers. When you come in to a situation, when you come into the community, are you the voice of reason, or are you the one tearing people down and tearing people apart? Are we peaceful? Wisdom that comes from God makes us peacemakers, makes us humble, like Jesus was humble, willing to lay our lives down for each other, for other people, willing to say, hey, this isn't all about me and my story. I'm just a blip on the radar, an important blip because Jesus loved me and gave his life for me, and I'm part of the story of God, but I'm not the story. I'm not the main character. I'm just doing what I can to point people to Jesus. That's what we want to do as a church. We don't want everything to be about Brookridge. We want Brookridge to be a conduit where people can come in and be introduced to God and then experience community with a group of people that are following him. I'm very grateful to be part of our community. I'm grateful so grateful for a small group that's just growing, and we get people that are coming in and say, hey, I want to be part of an active small group. I want to meet some people. I want to have some community during the week. We have a small group for that. I appreciate it. New problem for being late. That's why we have rewatches, and the lists will still be there. Hope you all appreciated I was glad we get to pray for our college students this past week, and we're going to continue to celebrate what God is doing in the community the next upcoming weeks. We have a few things. Our annual business meeting, our family meeting is coming up the end of September. The super hot weather inside the church building is hopefully over, so we're good there. And again, I'm excited about some things coming up. We have a ladies retreat coming up in September. A lot of good things happening in the community. We also have things to pray for. We have needs in the community. There are some people who are fighting sickness, fighting cancer in our community, and we want to keep them in prayer. We want to keep in prayer our marriages and our families, that God would strengthen marriages, that God would bring families together, that God would allow parents to be parents and kids to be kids in their respective roles. We really want to model good family, Christ-honoring, Christ-following family units within Brookridge. And we're a bunch of families that are just together, that like each other, love Jesus, and want to follow him together. And we also pray that God will send people to us, send the right people. I try to, when I have the opportunity, I don't get to meet a lot of people outside of church, but when I do, if I find out they're in our area, I'm like, hey, I'd love to have you come see us on a Sunday morning. I'm proud of you all. I'm not ashamed to ask people to come to the church. We love our online capabilities. We love our network churches. So Pastor Brian in Bay State, if I hear somebody that lives down in that area of Billerica, I'm going to send them to him. If I know somebody that is close to Granite, I'll send them to Granite. We have some good churches and some great pastors in our group and in our circle, and I'm proud of them. Terry Lee, who is one of our regulars on Wednesday nights, is helping out Granite's VBS. They're doing VBS this week, and she's there just volunteering and helping out. That's awesome. I'm so proud of the people that God has called to serve at Brookridge, and the fact that we can serve together. We're not scared of other churches. We're not intimidated by them. We're not threatened by them. We're here to help them in any way that we can. So I appreciate that. So we love you. We're praying for you. Apparently the snacks are amazing. Small group. Bet you Helen had something to do with that. Some good cooks in the group. So we're gonna let you go. If you want more scripture and more study on Wednesday nights, I tell you 7:30 to 8 is Bay State with Pastor Brian Spicer. He's going through the book of Habakkuk. He's been going through the minor prophets all summer, so that's always great. So Bay State Baptist live, probably right about now. which means it's time for me to sign off. I will see you on Sunday morning. Let me know if I can do anything for you. Otherwise, I'm praying for you. The elders are praying for you. And we appreciate and value our community. Take care.